The adorable pocket monsters of Pokemon have been super effective at delighting us ever since they debuted in 1996. Maybe you had the trading card games, maybe you played the Game Boy games, maybe you watched the cartoons or the movies, maybe you didn't know anything about them until you got into Pokemon Go. But now, nearly 30 years after their debut, and $77.1 billion in money made, the Great Pop Culture Debate podcast wants to determine, what is the best Generation 1 Pokemon? Yellow! I'm seeing red over these blue balls. And I mean great balls, because this episode is a family show. I'm your host, Eric Resniak. Please help me welcome my Pokemon trainer panelists for this episode. Our next panelist is here to execute the competition. It's Bob Erlenbach.
Hi, Eric. Can we make this fast? My Vulpix is burning.
They make a cream for that. Next, according to his local free clinic, he's already caught them all. It's Curtis Creekmore.
You know, it took a while, but I finally figured out how to get the pee-pee up.
Ah, yes. I did notice a Bulbasaur on your lip. I won't say which one. And finally, they're the Pichu to my Pikachu, the next evolution in my family line. Please welcome our legitimate Pokemon expert, target audience for the franchise, and my nibbling. It's Braden Resniak.
I like Pokemon a lot. Yes.
Yes, you do. And Braden, do you want to share your age? Do not feel obligated.
Nah.
Okay, that's fair. Just suffice it to say, Braden is a minor, so we'll go with that. So, before we get on to the debates, how does this work? We made a poll of all 151 Generation 1 Pokemon, from Bulbasaur to Mew. Our listeners and their starter Pokemon took the poll and picked their favorites. We tallied the votes, ranked them by popularity, and added them to a bracket. Now we argue about it and insult each other, all for your amusement. Want to play along at home? You can. Head to greatpopculturedebate.com and go to polls and brackets. There you'll find the downloadable listener brackets for this and every episode of our little show. Do your picks match up with ours? Do you think we've heard ourselves in our confusion? Let us know by dropping a comment on this episode at our website or by yelling at us on Twitter, Instagram, or Mastodon. Now, before we get into the top 16, I want to give our panelists a chance to talk about the Pokemon they were bummed did not make the discussion. I'm going to start with Bob. Bob, who were you upset?
So the few that I was upset about was the first one was Mr. Mime. I have a very... I don't know if it's a personal connection or relationship. I was never a mime myself, but I find him very amusing. I find him ridiculous. I just find it, no offense to those mimes out there, I find miming kind of ridiculous a little bit. So I just think he is hysterical to watch. If you've seen Detective Pikachu, he is absolutely, for me, the one that stole that movie. He is just a funny thing to watch, and he's just kind of ridiculous and over the top. So that was the one that... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, and I'm a Pokemon Go player, and is it the Galarian Mr. Rhyme that tap dances constantly?
Yes.
Yes, I live for that one. He makes me laugh. Go on, Bob.
Just picture this Pokemon that just mimes everything.
Exactly.
It's just ridiculous.
The talking Marcel Marceau statue. It'll be a sensation.
They'll love it. So, and the other one is Meowth, which I find very strange and just interesting that we're going into a conversation about the top 16 Pokemon, and we don't have Meowth in this conversation. For me, a majority of my knowledge does come from watching the anime. I did play the cards a little bit when they first came out. That was a long time ago at this point. I played a little bit of some of the video games. I've seen the movies, but the series for me is where most of my Pokemon knowledge and just familiarity comes from. And to remove... If you can't remove him from that show, he's such an integral and important part of that program that he's just incredibly important to the franchise overall. Aside from Pikachu and a few other Pokemons, he could be considered one of the faces of the franchise, so to speak. So just to me, it seems as though, and I should refer to them as not necessarily he or she necessarily, but they are they're just very... To me, to go into this conversation without covering Meowth would have been wrong. So that's why I wanted to speak about Meowth in this conversation. So anyone else have any thoughts?
Meowth, that's right. Come on, Bob. I mean, it was right there.
I was leaving that for you, Curtis.
I will eat all the crumbs. Thank you.
Braden, speaking as someone who's the target demographic for this, is there a reason that you'd think Meowth didn't make it? Do you think people just don't like the character?
I just think Meowth is kind of ugly.
Oh, savage.
He's not attractive. They aren't attractive.
It's true. I just find, like, whenever I'm playing one of the games, I literally never use Meowth. Like, literally not ever, because I don't think they're actually very useful as a Pokemon.
Yeah, no. Meowth and Persian are just not very good Pokemon in general.
Which is funny because Giovanni always opens with Persian and Go, and like you just have to blow through Persian before you can get to anything else. But yeah, speaking of Braden, what were some of the ones that you were surprised did not make it?
Arcanine, he is just like, or they are just, imagine a fire dog that's like 2 times the size of an average human. I'm very surprised that Arcanine like is not one of the top 16 Generation 1 Pokemon.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. What other ones?
I don't Porygon, I guess, because he's like robotic, and I just think it's a very cool concept for a Pokemon.
I agree with that. Like, there is no other Pokemon like Porygon, at least in the early Generation 1. Maybe there are later on.
No.
But, yeah, I like Porygon. And is it only turned into Porygon Z, or is there another... Is it Porygon 2?
So it evolves into Porygon 2 and then Porygon Z.
Got it. I will say my Porygon Z, I poured so many candies into it and Go, and it is useless. Utterly useless. Like, it can't do anything. Useless. I think you also had thoughts on Staryu, right, Braden? Or
Not really, no.
okay, I can never tell the 2 stars apart. That's my issue.
Starmie is the one with all the spikes, and then Staryu has less spikes.
Okay, I get it. Say you, say me. Say it together.
I really want a Starwee.
Where is Starwee?
Or Star They.
question.
Like,
Yeah,
I
right?
want some sort of either a regional evolution or something new. I feel like that line could use it.
Well, we finally
Definitely.
got Wiglet in Scarlet Violet. Useless. But we finally got an evolution that played with it. What were you going to say?
I desperately wanted a wig trio, and I wanted, but we already have that from Alola, the Doug trio with the wigs. I
Yes.
call that wig trio. So.
Yes, it's true. And if anyone on this podcast knows wigs, it's Curtis. Speaking of Curtis, talk to me about the ones that you were surprised did not make it.
Yeah, I have a couple. Articuno, I'm a little surprised and sad that none of the other legendary birds even made the original bracket at all, considering they were the first ever legendaries that players got to experience. And I was an Articuno stan from the jump, even though Ice Flying is an absolutely terrible type. I didn't care. It was pretty. Gyarados, for those who haven't seen the bracket, Gary here was an 8 seed, which means bottom 4 of the 32, which is insanity to me. It's one of the strongest non-legendary Pokemon in the game, still, even now, even beyond the sheer power that comes from a floating shrimp. I really like the lore behind Gyarados, with Magikarp being one of, if not the weakest Pokemon in Generation 1, and you have to what's called switch train it because it only learns Splash. It doesn't even have a move that can hurt other things until level 15, and then once you get it to 20, your efforts pay off and you get a Kaiju with 540 base power, which is fantastic. And the last one is Charizard. I can't believe that I'm defending Charizard at all, but I feel like we have to make mention of it or the rabid Pokemon fans will come and burn down my house. Pokemon has always had what I would consider 4 main mascots. Pikachu, obviously. Eevee eventually became popular enough to earn one of those slots. I would also argue that Gengar is a very popular representative, especially in Japan. And then begrudgingly, Charizard, for some reason. Is he cool? Yeah, sure. He has a cool design. He's pretty strong, but I've never really understood it. And that being said, I'm surprised that it didn't make it through, but I'm not particularly sad about it.
Braden, is Charizard cool as our resident expert?
I mean, he's cool, but people like a lot of Pokemon fans have just fallen off liking him because the Game Freak gives too much attention to him. Like, they gave him literally everything, 2 Mega Forms, a Gigantamax, everything.
So would we say that he's 2000 and late? Is that how we would discuss this? Okay. Thank you for that. I will say, so Curtis kind of references, and I think it's good to get this out of the top of the way. If you go to the listener bracket on our website, and you will notice that this was actually a top 32, not a top 16 originally. And we were going to do a full two-parter, but a little how the sausage is made, we switched over to Riverside as our recording company for season 7, and we have a limit on the number of hours we can record every month, and we're literally right up against the limit right now. We couldn't do both parts, and in order to not to kick it back and delay the season, we just decided to truncate it to a one-part. So that was the 1 to 2 round decisions were made based on how the panelists voted without any discussion, and we also used seeds to make that determination, but that explains that. I want to go and say, for me, the ones I was bummed that didn't make it, that were in the original top 32 but didn't make 16. Ponyta. Not that I think that Ponyta is a great character. People are laughing at me. Am I saying the name wrong?
It's Ponyta.
Yeah,
It's
there we go.
Ponyta?
I was
Did I
gonna
say
say
it
I
wrong?
always
Ponyta.
said Ponyta. It's terrible, but
You put too
Ponyta
much
sounds like
emphasis
the girl
on-
down the way. Like
Ponyta. She's a
Eric,
banshee
live your
girl.
true and authentic self.
Thank you. She is hanging out at the corner trying to holler at your man. That is Ponyta.
Beautiful
Putting-
gowns, as Eric would say.
Putting
we
too
saying,
much
Greg?
emphasis on the why.
Well, the only reason I wanted to bring up however you say her name is that she's pretty. She's pretty. She has either rainbow hair or flame hair. It doesn't matter. She pretty. So I just wanted to say that. And then the other one is Alakazam. Oh, I just, like, even from the jump, playing the OG card game, I loved that evolution. I thought it was really fun. I thought that the psychic characters were really exciting when I was playing this game for the first time, like in the 90s. And, like, going from Abra to Kadabra to Alakazam. As anyone who listens to this podcast knows, I love the dad jokes. I love the puns. And, like, that's right in my wheelhouse. And I love the design for Alakazam. I think it's a really cool character with the floating bending spoons. A lot of fun. So those are the ones that did not make the top 16 for discussion. But with that out of the way, you teach me and I'll teach you. Let's move on to the debates. First up, it looks like a unanimous decision for ultimate number 1 seed Eevee over its electric evolution, Jolteon, a 4 seed. Braden, does that decision shock you?
Not really, because just Eevee is a much cuter, much more popular Pokemon. It got its own game. It's just very overall a good Pokemon, I would say. Not in stat-wise, but in, like, design-wise.
Eevee is the most versatile Pokemon in the entire Pokedex. I think we can agree. It can be pretty much anything, right? What are the only evolutions Eevee doesn't have? Braden, you know this.
Dragon, Steel, Normal, I believe.
technically, yeah.
Is there any else? Bug, I know it doesn't have. I don't know.
Is there a Ghost Eevee?
Rock, Ground, Ghost. I think those are all of them.
Let's get on it, Niantic. What's going on? How has this not been addressed?
Can I complain for just a minute?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yes.
So I know this is Gen 1. Eevee was in Gen 1, so we're going to talk about it. In Violet and Scarlet, which are the newest iterations, since we are doing this in 2023, I was so mad. And spoilers, turn off the thing if you haven't played that yet and you care. But one of the big baddies at the end that you have to fight is an Eeveelution trainer. It would have been perfect to create a new Eeveelution for this generation and give it to her.
Sure.
But for some reason, they haven't done it since Sylveon. I guess that was the
Yeah.
last one.
Because they just added types, so they needed to add an evolution to make it seem special.
Well, go ahead, Bob.
Is Vaporeon, Jolteon, and Flareon, are those the only Generation 1, right? Those
Yes.
are the only 3
Yes.
from Generation 1?
Yes. Yeah. Speaking of which, is that no? It's yes, it is actually. Next in a water type showdown, 2-seed Squirtle used Wave and swept another Eevee evolution, 3-seed Vaporeon, right out of the competition. Curtis, are you soaked in disappointment over this decision?
Well, Wave isn't a move, Eric.
Oh, devil!
Technically, it's Surf.
Surf?
So
Surf. That's what I meant.
Or Waterfall, whichever
there's also
one.
Wave Crash.
Sure.
True,
Any
true.
one of these is much better than the joke that I used. Go ahead.
Wait, you tried.
I tried.
Actually, God, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. I really enjoy Squirtle. It was my original starter. When I purchased Pokemon Blue for the first time, I went with Squirtle. I possibly because I thought that I had to, because Blastoise was on the cover, and
Sure.
I thought that was because I was like 8. I don't know. I do enjoy Vaporeon. It's probably of the 3 from this gen, it's my favorite evolution.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with the Squirtle squad going through.
Okay. Who generally do you use as your starter when you start a new game here, Bob? Do you have a particular type you tend to go with?
Probably any. I like Eevee, so like the Eevee. Let's go Eevee.
Yeah.
Or yeah, that game. But
Yeah.
I don't really have. I don't play enough of the gaming portion of this
Got
to be
it.
able to speak to like what I would truly start with.
That's fair. Braden, when you start one of the new games, do you have a particular type you always go with for your starter, or do you kind of switch it up?
I've never gone with a fire starter.
Yeah.
But that's just because I've only played the recent Pokemon games. But I just do it based on design. I don't do it like based on anything else.
Yeah.
Don't let Drew Barrymore know that you didn't start with a fire starter.
He does not understand that reference. That's fine.
No.
I was going.
Sadly, I had to box my starter in Scarlet and Violet because its final evolution is ugly.
Which one did you
that's-
pick?
I picked the Weed Cat Sprigatito.
Yeah.
Same.
I only called it Weed Cat. That's if you ask me what its actual name is, I don't know. Whatever cat's
Meowscarada.
smoking the weed, I don't know. Smoking the ganja. All right, thank you for that. So we are advancing Squirtle to the next. Next, it's an actual Pokemon battle. It's 4-seed Dragonite over 1-seed Bulbasaur. Curtis, why should Dragonite fly into the next round? Bob, plant some seeds for Bulbasaur to continue. I'm gonna have Bob go first.
Of course, Bob always goes first. Not really. For me, I'm obviously leading and going with Bulbasaur. To me, again, I've been familiar with this franchise almost from the beginning, from the anime, from the original, playing with some of the original card games, the movies, etc. And Bulbasaur to me is in this pairing is the true classic. He's really that number one over Dragonite. I think Dragonite comes in pretty late in the Pokedex, even right,
Yeah.
even almost to the end. I just think Bulbasaur is a little bit more fun than Dragonite. I mean, he's dual type. He has poison and grass, if I'm not mistaken, right? So he's pretty much versatile against multiple types of Pokemon type. He's pretty balanced and a pretty good. See, this is me doing research, folks, because I don't play games enough. But he's a pretty balanced fighter, and pretty versatile. He's known for being kind of pretty calm, fairly calm in demeanor, friendly, loyal, all of those things. He's very famous from the beginning of one of the most identifiable Pokemon from the early parts of this franchise, and really stands out as one that people identify or can pick out of a crowd. Dragonite, to me, as I call him, and I know he's not a salamander type of thing, he's a dragon, but he's budget Charmander to me. So it's a no. I know, Braden, I've upset Braden, but I'm just saying, like, you put them next to each other, we're just trying to capture the lightning of Charmander again, and it just doesn't work. So
No, you're not.
And Curtis is clutching the pearls.
Curtis is scandalized.
I
Curtis.
can't even breathe. Oh my God.
Budget Charmander.
Oh, honey. Oh, ma'am. All right.
Go for it, Curtis.
I know we're only talking about Gen 1 in this episode, but all I'm going to say is, did we get to watch Bulbasaur kill a guy? We did not. For those of you who do not know what I'm talking about, in the Heart Gold Soul Silver remakes, the champion Lance commands his Dragonite to attack a Team Rocket accomplice with Hyper Beam, slamming him into the wall, and then he doesn't move again. It is probably the
that actually
first.
does happen.
Yes, I'm not
dark.
making this up. Yeah, it's the first and probably the most violent Pokemon on human attack that we see until Legends Arceus, when Pokemon attacking you is a feature of the game. In Gen 1 and in every subsequent generation until Fairy was introduced in Gen 6, Dragon is one of the most powerful types available. It was nearly untouchable, with its only weakness, Ice, only being available in the late game, and Ice being largely glass cannons that were easy to beat.
Also, Dragon.
And Dragon.
is weak
Oh,
to
that's
dragon.
right. Dragon is weak to Dragon. In Gen 1, it was so powerful that they only created one evolutionary line of 3 total Pokemon out of the original 151 that had that typing, and made it pretty challenging to find and then raise. Dragonite is also the first Pokemon to be considered a pseudo-legendary, having a base stat total of 600. And if you don't know what that means, I can't help you.
I can.
Thank you.
Well, Braden, where are you on this one?
I'm with Dragonite. Dragonite he's my 6th favorite Pokemon of all time. I gotta go with Dragonite.
Okay, can you talk to me why he's your 6th favorite Pokemon of all time?
Because, well, first of all, he's a pseudo-legendary, which means he's like uber powerful, but not a legendary.
Just like myself. Go on.
He is a dragon type, which is probably the best type of all time, other than fairy.
Again, right here, but go on.
He's a very cute dude. He's just the cutest of the pseudo-legendaries, and I don't really like the more ferocious kind of Pokemon. I'm more with, like, the cute Pokemon.
Those are great reasons. And
I
so,
like my legendaries to be actual legendaries. Just saying.
Dragonite is very legs and dairy.
I'm going to use that joke later, folks. So when it comes up, just remember that I had it first. What I was going to say, I don't remember how I initially voted here, but I am going to throw my vote to Dragonite. And I am not coming at this from scientific reasons. I am not coming at this from like I have tremendous affection for them. We'll get to how I play with everything, but he reminds me of Pete's Dragon from the movie Pete's Dragon, but he's yellow, not green, and I love that movie. So for that reason, it's Dragonite for me. So that's 3 votes for Dragonite, 1 vote for Bulbasaur. Dragonite will continue. Next, Wake Up, Pearl and Diamond. It's a sleep Pokemon smackdown as 2-seed Jigglypuff is up against 3-seed Snorlax. Braden, why should we let Snorlax sleep in until the next round? I will sing out for my pink marshmallow icon, Jigglypuff. Braden, why don't you go first?
All right, so basically, my first reason is that Snorlax can literally fight in his sleep. And do you know anyone else that can do that?
Your Uncle Chad. Your Uncle Chad actually had actual arguments with us trying to get him up for bed to go to school in the morning, and he was completely asleep when he had them. Just FYI.
All right. Do you know anyone over 5'5" that can fight in their sleep?
That is a read, and I am so impressed with you right now, so please continue.
Secondly, Jigglypuff's singing is so awful that it literally bores people to sleep. Like, that's not good singing.
It's very relatable, though.
And then finally, the only way Jigglypuff can do any damage is like drawing on the opponent sleeping with a marker, which if you've watched any episodes of the Pokemon anime, you might have been able to see that one. That running joke.
I'm just saying Jigglypuff is an artist and signs its work. So here's what I'm saying. Jigglypuff has it all. Adorable, check. Solid defense, check. Able to majorly debuff its opponents, check. Jigglypuff is also a superstar. Jigglypuff is the Mary Catherine Gallagher of the Pokemon world. She is the icon, she is a legend, and she is the moment. Jiggly is the second Pokemon inclusion in the Smash Brothers series, a secret character in the very first game. Jiggly can float, can put other fighters to sleep, has an absolutely brutal move in Pound if it connects, and spin attack and rollout. Jigglypuff is never going to be your lead fighter in Pokemon, but is great to have in your squad if you need to try to sneak in there, get someone to sleep, and then beat the crap out of them. With that being said, I'm going to put it up to a vote. Bob, where are you on this one?
The icon, the legend, the diva, Jigglypuff.
Yeah, serving it. Curtis, where are you?
That's a tough one. I've never really been a big fan of Snorlax at all, nor Jigglypuff for that matter. But
Scandalous.
I know. But from like a cultural perspective, the fact that Jigglypuff made it into Smash somehow and is like, there is such a thing as a Jigglypuff main. The fact that exists.
I am one.
I'll give it to Jigglypuff for that.
Yeah. So you main Jiggly in Smash?
Yes, and I can explain to you how Jigglypuff got into Smash if you would like.
Be my guest.
Educate
we're,
me.
we're about
They-
walking the children through nature, Braden.
They
Go for it.
needed, so in Smash 64, they needed an 8th member to join the Smash roster, and they didn't want to make a whole new model, so they just copied Kirby and made it Jigglypuff.
That makes sense. The moves are very, very similar, but Jigglypuff sings. And I think Jigglypuff has a beautiful singing voice, so I'm just going to say that.
Also, Pound is not the devastating move, it's called Rest. That's the
Yeah.
devastating
Oh,
move.
like you have to be right next to them, and then you go to
Yeah.
rest, and they go flying off the board. Thank you. But Palm
From-
is go ahead, Bob.
No, from cultural zeitgeist perspective, it's Jigglypuff all the way in this pairing for sure.
I agree. So that is 3 for Jigglypuff, 1 for Snorlax. I'm sorry, Braden, but Snorlax is out of here. Next, Ghost type and 5-seed Gengar is up against Psychic type and 1-seed Mew. Curtis, look under that random truck and see if you can find votes for Mew. Braden, why does the possible ouster of Gengar have you saying boo? I'm going to have Curtis go first.
How are you going to argue with the mother of Mewtwo? As tough.
Have you met
And-
my mother?
And I have not, actually.
I have. She's not good.
Oh, Nancy.
The reads keep
The re-
coming.
I am living.
Yeah.
So in case he stole my joke, Eric stole my joke, but when Gen 1 came out, there was a rumor that if you used strength on a broken down truck that is near the SS Anne in Vermilion City, you could get a Mew. And I cannot tell you how many minutes I tried and wasted trying to get that Mew. I also have no idea how that rumor spread, considering we didn't have the proliferation of the internet in 1996. Like, I don't know how I learned about that, because it certainly wasn't from any of my friends.
Playgrounds? Yeah,
I didn't
it's very
have
interesting.
Yeah,
friends,
playgrounds.
I guess.
Yeah.
Mew was so cool that it wasn't even available in the game unless you lived in Japan and had the ability to go to a special Nintendo event to get one.
Is that
At least
true?
in Gen 1, that was, yeah, you could not get it in the game.
That is wild.
I remember feeling really salty about that as a kid because I love cats and I really wanted one. It could learn any TM, any move in the game that you could learn through Technical Machine, it could learn. And as a psychic type, which I would argue is the most powerful type of Gen 1 because it only had one weakness,
That's actually true.
Ghost, but they gave the Ghost line, the only 3 ghosts in that game, poison, making it weak to Psychic. So even the thing that was meant to overtake Psychic as a type had a weakness in Gen 1, so it was easily swept away. I like Gengar, but I'm going to go with Mew.
So before I give it to Braden to talk about Gengar, you did say that you're very salty because you couldn't get Mew, and I have to take this moment. We are recording this on Pokemon Go Hoenn Tour weekend, and I need to tell you how furious I am that this was supposedly our only chance to get Relicanth in the United States, and it is impossible to get him during this tour unless you hatch him from an egg, and you only have a 1 in 3 chance of getting him from the egg. Yes, I am. It's the only Hoenn one that I'm missing. The only reason to play this weekend was to do that, and I still could not catch him at any point, and I'm not okay. I'm very upset. I don't even know if I've caught him yet because my egg hasn't hatched yet.
Can
but
you
like,
have someone trade it to you?
I'm sure you can trade it as well, but like everybody's in the same boat. Like you only
Yeah.
get them from hatching eggs. And like I had a bunch of stupid eggs pop up into my thing that was cleared out earlier this week and now it's full. So I have 1 egg and I'm living on a prayer that it ends up being Relicanth. Braden, talk to us about Gengar.
Before I do that, actually, I have just realized that it is one day before International Pokemon Day. So that's
I
very
didn't know
fun.
that.
Pokemon Day is just like the exact date that Pokemon Red and Green came out in Japan. So that's just a neat fact.
That is a neat fact.
And so basically, as you were saying, there is only one weakness to the Psychic type in Generation 1, and that happens to belong to Gengar. And Gengar is such a strong Pokemon that it could easily defeat Mew in a bout. Also, you cannot get Mew in any game at all without any special events, which means it's insanely rare and no one can have it, and that's just unfair. I mean, if you are imagine you're 7 years old and you are like, my favorite Pokemon's Mew. I want to get a Mew, but you don't know how. And you realize that you have to get through events, but all the events are expired. You're going to have to wait until you can get another Mew, which takes forever. And then finally, Gengar's just really cool, man. He has a relationship with Clefable, where some people have theorized that Gengar is actually Clefable's shadow. And it's a very interesting thing. And Gengar is overall just a very cool guy.
He is a very cool guy, I have to say. Those were great arguments, Braden. You're blowing my mind with your knowledge. That's exactly why you're here. Bob, where are you voting on this one?
I'm gonna be voting with I think that originally what did I vote for originally? Oh God,
Mew.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm gonna stick with Mew. I think Braden made some really great arguments there.
I'm torn, Braden. I really am. And you made some really good arguments. I love the thing about Gengar possibly being Clefable's shadow. Is that what you said it was?
Clefable.
Clefable. Thank you. This is going to happen the entire episode. And I'm so
8-year-old
glad.
Curtis did say Clefable, just to be fair.
He always makes fun of me for mispronouncing these, and I'm fine with that. That's totally cool. But I think I'm going with Mew here. One of the things that Braden said that made Mew worse was that it was so special that you had to get it in very specific instances. But I actually love that stuff. To me, it makes Pokemon more exciting, and it's the whole you got to catch them all, but you can't catch them all regularly. There has to be it has to be tough, and Mew is the Generation 1 kind of definition of that. So I'm gonna stick with Mew here. Also, if I'm tipping my hands, I really want a Mew versus Mewtwo matchup in round 2. So that's also part of what I'm doing here. So that is 3 votes for Mew. I'm sorry, Bray, that Gengar is out, but you did a very good job stumping for them. Next, the majority of the panel is launching a Psystrike with 2-seed Mewtwo, but Braden is quacking up at the thought that 3-seed Psyduck could be leaving the competition. Bray, cry foul and push for votes for Psyduck. I have a Shadow Ball defending Mewtwo. I'm going to have Braden go first.
All right, so first of all, Psyduck gets migraines, and I don't think any other Pokemon can relate to anyone else about that, because he's a sad dude, and I want to give him sympathy. So that's why I really voted for him. And
relatable fish, absolutely, yes.
Secondly, Psyduck's headaches can cause seismic earthquakes, and I don't know about any other being that can cause seismic earthquakes with just a headache, It's a very interesting thing about Psyduck. And he's the first duck Pokemon. I mean, how can you argue with that argument,
I think also the best duck Pokemon.
Definitely.
I don't think, the Quaxley line in Scarlet and Violet has some absolutely fierce hairstyles,
yes,
right?
It does.
And the
Quaffle
disco
is amazing.
finale, absolutely. But I think the rest of the duck Pokemon kind of pale in comparison to Psyduck. I love Psyduck. I would absolutely have Psyduck advancing to the next round if it wasn't up against Mewtwo, but it's up against Mewtwo, and that's the trick. So here's my scandal on Mewtwo. He's the big bad of the OG Pokemon universe. He's something of a misunderstood character and an antagonist more because of his origins than it's his own interests. I feel like the best comparison would be Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII or maybe Magneto from X-Men, immensely powerful beings created through torturous circumstances, and they either just want to be left alone or to protect their own. And I think there's something that's really compelling about that. It keeps showing up as a character in multiple different franchises, right? Mewtwo is frequently used in other media as well. That's one of my rubric for this. He's a fighter in Smash since at least the second game. He's also prominently featured in the Detective Pikachu movie, although as you were talking, Braden, I'm pretty sure Psyduck also was pretty prominently featured in Detective Pikachu. Am I wrong about that?
He was. That's where the fact that his headaches can cause seismic earthquakes comes from.
Yes, but was he the reason for Detective Pikachu? No, that was Mewtwo. And so for me, Psyduck is cute, but Mewtwo is a badass, and that's why I'm voting for Mewtwo here. Curtis, where are you on this one?
The one thing that I did a little bit of research, and there are only 4 Pokemon that have been in every generation from the start. Psyduck is one of them.
No kidding.
Yeah, I didn't realize. Psyduck, Golduck, Magnemite, and Magneton.
Wow.
Those are the 4 that have been in every generation since the beginning.
Pikachu has 2.
Has it?
But
Yes,
you can
it
only
has.
get Pikachu through trades, correct? In one of them?
I don't think so. You might be only able to. Oh wait, maybe it's in Black and White that you can't get him.
I think that's what it is.
But he might be. But he would be available in Black and White too. So
Fair. I don't know if they consider that a separate generation or just maybe
No,
it was
it's
every
still Gen
iteration of
5.
the game. I'll have to go back and look. But
Still Gen
whatever
5.
I saw on Bulbapedia, that's what it said. Anyway.
never trust Bulbapedia.
Yeah.
Oh.
Learned that lesson a couple
Well,
times.
I guess I'm fucked. Sorry, Braden.
Really good.
I'm still gonna give it to Mewtwo. Just the sheer power, like it's scary. I remember kind of being scared when you go in Cerulean Cave for the first time, and it's like this monster, the monster of the game. So yeah, I'm gonna vote for Mewtwo.
Whenever
Did
I
you-
went into Cerulean Cave, I wasn't scared.
No, I was going to ask you, were you scared, Braden? No?
Nope.
You were
I was
excited?
just like, I know Mewtwo's there. I'm just gonna catch him. It's gonna be easy.
And did you?
Yes, it was very easy.
Well done. Bob, where are you on this one?
There's a couple things about why I'm choosing Mewtwo, and here's a few. You made the point, Eric. They come back to Mewtwo. The Detective Pikachu was really the argument I had in this portion of the round, was that they come back to him again as a big bad, as a really prominent and important part of this franchise, as well as just being pretty iconic from the jump, from the very beginning, and also comes from the Cerulean Cave. And if Meryl Streep taught us anything about Cerulean, it comes from a pile of stuff. And so he's important for those reasons, or they are important for those reasons. So
Yes.
I'm going to stick with Mewtwo.
You're doing a great job defending these. I hope you're not getting upset that they're getting booted, Braden, because you're doing a very good job.
The only one I'm surprised with is the Snorlax one.
Yeah, that was just because he was up against gay icon Jigglypuff, and that's where we are. I think
I'm going
if it
to
was
come
any-
at this very, very differently than Braden will, because I'm more of the less of the gaming, less of understanding all of the intricate pieces of who they are as fighters and all those pieces, to more of that iconic Pokemon stuff. So it's great to have an argument on. Well, and all of you actually play the games more than I do, but it's awesome to have an argument that's like more well-rounded to those points, and it's not just all about gaming or all about the entertainment. So
Right. Agreed. With 3 votes, we will be advancing Mewtwo to the next round. Sorry about that, Psyduck. But also, I'm disturbed, Curtis, that Golduck, who is just lame, is one of the only Pokemon to be in every generation. Golduck is the
Sadly.
worst.
Yeah.
Sadly, Psyduck has an awful glow up into Golduck.
It's true. Go and get yourself a make under, honey. What were you going to say, Bob?
you mentioned Golduck, but I just realized, do we not have Goldeen here?
We don't have Goldeen
I should
here.
have spoken about Goldeen at the
You
beginning.
should
I'm so
have.
sorry,
Goldeen,
Goldeen.
Goldeen.
Uncle Eric, you should do your beautiful Goldeen impression.
Goldeen. We loved Goldeen when we were playing Smash Brothers. All right, so next, half the panel chooses you, franchise mascot and 1-seed Pikachu, but Braden and Curtis have fire in the belly for 4-seed Flareon. Braden, give us a sick burn by defending Flareon. I will argue why I'm shocked that people aren't on board with Pikachu. Why don't I have Braden go first?
So, basically, Flareon is a fire cat, and cats eat mice. And what is Pikachu's species name? The mouse Pokemon. I mean,
Is Flareon a cat?
yes, it is.
Is
Flareon
Eevee a cat?
Flareon is most definitely a cat, and even if it's not a cat, even if it's a fox, foxes still eat mice.
It's either
That's a fair
it's
point.
like it's lupine and feline. It's not a dog. If anybody thinks that it's a dog, they're wrong. But if you think it's a cat or a fox, you're right.
It's not a girl, not yet a woman. That's what Flareon is. Okay. Anything else for Flareon here?
Definitely. So, secondly, Flareon is scientifically the most huggable Pokemon out of all of them.
Scientifically.
Because of he has the softest fur of all the Pokemon, and the warmth from its fire sac will keep you warm while you're snuggling it. And then finally, Flareon is part of the biggest evolution branch in all of Pokemon.
That's true, and I'll give you this. In terms of evolutionary branches, Pikachu sucks. It is terrible. Pichu's adorable. We love Pichu. I believe Pichu is Braden's favorite Pokemon, correct?
It's not my favorite. It's one of my mascots, but my favorite is Latias.
Okay, Latias. Thank you. But like you have Pichu and then you have Raichu, and Raichu is lame. Like as much as I was just ragging on Goldtuck, I'm also gonna rag on Raichu. Lame. Like just who uses Raichu ever?
Alolan Raichu is okay.
Alolan Raichu he's like a gay icon as well.
Because if he surfs.
He's a cute surfer dude, and he serves pancakes for a living.
Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't
That's
aware of
actually
the
true.
pancakes.
Yeah.
I do
does
love
do that.
carbs, so he's got that going for him. But I will give it to you that Eevee has the much better evolutionary line here. Here's my argument on Pikachu. Pikachu is the pepperoni argument for this bracket.
It
Now,
sure
Braden,
is.
you're probably sitting and saying, I don't know what that means. And in our best pizza topping episode, we kept putting through pepperoni without any good reason why. We're just like, it's pepperoni. It has to go through. Pikachu is the pepperoni argument here. Where it's like, it's Pikachu. It has to go through. But Pikachu is the face of the franchise, which is remarkable since he's not a starter, nor is he particularly powerful. He's fine, but who here actually uses Pikachu with any regularity in any of the Pokemon games? Anybody? Braden?
Sadly, I am currently using one because no, but here's the thing. So there is a Pokemon Day event going on where you could get Pikachu in a 7-star Scarlet and Violet raids, and I literally put him on my team yesterday, so I don't think that counts.
Okay, fair. He's still everywhere. How everywhere? He has flown as a balloon in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade since 2001 in 4 different balloon iterations. He has made several appearances on The Simpsons. There is a Pikachu sculpture in New Orleans. In 1998, Topeka, Kansas was renamed for a day to Pikachu, Kansas. There are countless Pikachu branded products, including Pikachu themed Nintendos, Game Boys, and DS's. Where are the Flareon products? I ask you. Where are they?
I do know for a fact that Flareon mugs exist.
Mugs, sure. I'll give you your mugs and I'll raise you literally everything else. So with that being said, Curtis, where are you on this one?
I don't like Pikachu, so I'm going to vote for Flareon. It doesn't matter unless Bob has been swayed in some way, because Pikachu is a number 1 seed, of course. But just like pepperoni, which I don't like, it feels like it has been forced upon me. I did not choose this. I did not ask for Pikachu.
I did not choose you, Pikachu.
I did not. And I don't, typically. I might do an Alolan just because it's got the psychic subtype. Like, it is it's a glass cannon, very easy to get rid of.
Yeah.
But no, I'm going to vote for Flareon. It's cuter and less annoying.
Yes,
Bob.
it is.
I'm in a pepperoni argument for Pikachu for sure. Like, I'm just going to push it through. I will say this, though, that I think the evolutionary line piece to that is more of an argument for Eevee than it is for Flareon itself. So there's that piece to it. And I'm going to look this up as we sit here and talk anyway. I think that Eevee may have been in a float balloon
Yes.
at this point, too.
Eevee and Pikachu are in the current version of the Thanksgiving Day Parade float, and it was around the time they did "Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee." So it was like 2 years ago.
But I think that evolutionary line argument is really more for Eevee than it is for Flareon, because we love everything and all of the evolutions from Eevee, even past Gen 1. But like, I think it's really more the argument on Eevee than it is on, and I can't imagine removing Pikachu this early. Well, pepperoni argument to say, like, people would be like, what are you doing if we don't push Pikachu through?
Curtis, you're going to say something?
The argument against Flareon here is also that in Gen 1, it didn't have any moves. The Flareon moveset in Gen 1 is atrocious because it is a physical attacker. And I believe at that point, most, if not all, fire moves were special.
The way that works is, so basically before Generation 4, each type of move was either physical or special. And so basically all the evolution types and then Dragon and Psychic are special.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think that is an advancement. It's a tie vote, but Pikachu is the 1 seed and Flareon is did we say a 4 seed? Is that a 3? Yeah.
4.
So
They've done
Pikachu.
injustice to Flareon, giving him a 4 seed.
I know. I think that means all of the Eevee evolutions have now been locked out, except for Eevee himself.
Correct.
Themselves. So we will advance Pikachu into the next round. Finally, in this round, it's an even split between 3-seed Cubone and 2-seed Charmander. Bob, explain why there are no skeletons in Cubone's closet. Curtis, aren't you glad that Charmander could advance to the quarterfinals? And I'm going to have Curtis go first. I couldn't come up with a better argument for Charmander. Sorry.
Come on, Eric.
Yeah, I had nothing else.
I spent 5 minutes earlier railing against Charizard. Now I have to rep for its baby.
I
That's
know.
not cool. I'm probably not going to do a very good job here. I chose Pokemon Blue, like I said earlier, and I also started with Squirtle in my first ever playthrough. So Charmander has never been at the top of any list for me. I do think that it's cute, and I appreciate in the anime that it was always very protective of its tail flame, because the whole thing is like, if the tail flame goes out, it dies, which is really bleak. But
Yeah.
Cubone has the trauma vote with its dead mom. It wins the type matchup. Ground is super effective against fire. I think the one thing that Charmander has going for it is longevity. Charmander and the rest of its evolutionary line have been popular from the beginning, and they've remained popular since then. Braden, feel free to do a better job of supporting it. I could honestly go either way, but I feel like most people would it's a 2-seed, so people did vote for Charmander over Cubone.
But Cubone was also surprisingly popular, and I'd like to give a shout out at this point in the episode to Andrea Guerrero, GPCD panelist, who was initially going to be on this episode, and Cubone is her favorite. She couldn't be with us today, but we want to say that we're thinking of you, and we're repping Cubone on your behalf. Speaking of which, Bob, talk to me about Cubone.
Yeah, Curtis already made my argument, the trauma vote. Like, I don't know how you don't pick Cubone in this matchup. I think Charmander is great. Everybody knows Charmander. Everybody loves Charmander. From a design perspective, I'm sorry, Charmander doesn't win the battle there. I think that Cubone, he's wearing the skull of his dead mother to mourn her. She's more dead to me than my dead mother. So, it's a lonely Pokemon because it has the tendency to keep to himself. It tries to avoid social situations. Totally can relate. I'm sure lots of people can relate
Absolutely.
to that.
Yeah.
Has a lot of fun. Like, obviously, I think he's shy. He's introverted. He's pretty loyal. But I when I go back to the entertainment angle on this too, like that Detective Pikachu movie, that's like the first Pokemon we're dealing with in that movie, where they're trying to capture Cubones in the wild. Just a super fun for me character, because it has such a backstory to it, and not all Pokemon have such a rich backstory of mourning the death of the mother. Howling at the Moon, it's especially bad when there's a full moon out, is what I've learned throughout my research. So I'm with Cubone on this. I just think from a character design and a cool fun little backstory to it, with why why they are the way they are, wins it over this battle. I think Charmander's a little too cutesy simple for me, and I think some of the Charmander evolutions are a little bit more interesting and fun than Charmander himself. So.
Now, Braden, we said earlier that Charizard has a pushback from the fandom because they feel that Charizard's getting too much hype from Niantic/Nintendo. Do you think that translates to Charmander as well?
Definitely, because it's just like Charizard is just old Charmander, and all the problems that Charizard has, Charmander does have. Yeah, that's basically it.
Okay. So the fandom, I think, is in agreement. We currently have, is it 3 for Cubone? No, it's an even split.
I think it's 2 for 2.
It's 2 for 2. So, Braden, are you
Skull
sticking?
on their head.
Braden, which one are you going with here?
I'm voting for Cubone.
I'm
Okay.
also changing my vote.
It created the saddest Pokemon moment of all time, where in Pokemon Let's Go Eevee/Pikachu, it meets its dead mother and reaches out its hands to touch the spirit of its dead mother, and then the Marowak fades away, and I cried during that. So
Aw.
You are
gotta
not
go with
alone.
Cubone.
You are not alone in that.
That is very upsetting. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do it. We're going to push forward Cubone into the next round. That's the end of round 1. We're going to take a quick break and hit the gym with Professor Oak. We'll be right back after these messages.
Hey listeners, it's Bob from the Great Pop Culture Debate. We hope you're enjoying this episode and that you're yelling back at your speakers telling us how wrong we are. Did you know that there's a much better way to tell us how you feel? Come kiki with our panelists on Discord. Our patrons at the $10 level get access to our exclusive Discord server where you can share your thoughts about our decisions or just gab with our group about everything pop culture. It's like participating in your own episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Untucked. We have something for everyone to talk about, including reality TV, comics, news, nostalgia, and so much more. So if you love spirited debate and fabulous people, become a Patreon supporter today and join in on the conversation.
And we are back for round 2 of our best Gen 1 Pokemon debate. Before we get to the Elite 8, I want our panelists to share their social media and also let us know how you first got into Pokemon and what versions you've played / are playing or watched, whatever. Bob, you go first.
You can reach me at DisNerdBob on Mastodon and Instagram and other things too. Probably if you search for me as DisNerdBob, you'll probably find me on various social media platforms. But the ones that I named are the ones that I'm most involved with. As for the how I got into Pokemon, I kind of shared this at the beginning of the episode at the top as well. For me, it was the anime. It was the cartoon. It was really the sensation of it all, even when it first started way back when. But I've always been somebody that's been very much into anime series and animation and shows in general that have lots of characters and lots of things to them. So to deal with a show that had over hundreds of monsters, 150 initially, right?
151.
151. Excuse me. Thank you. Was a lot of fun, and I used to love name that Pokemon at the end of the episode. So,
Who's that Pokemon?
Michelle Visage, by the way, does that. She's a huge Pokemon fan, and she actually killed it on Who's That Pokemon with in something I watched. It was adorable.
Wow.
Yeah. Curtis, why don't you tell us your socials and how you got into Pokemon?
Sure. I am at Curtitch, Curtitch. I have no idea why. On most things, Twitter, Instagram, but I'm terrible. God, I'm so bad with social media. I am such a Pokemon nerd. I have played every generation, every iteration. I've owned probably multiple copies. Like I got red and blue. I got the only reason that I did it was because I didn't have any friends and I needed to be able to get all the Pokemon. And that's the only way you could do it in most generations. But this is my life. I'm 36-year-old still playing. Like I just got Violet and Scarlet. Well, we got Violet. I love it. I'm so thankful to, even though it has its faults, I am so thankful to Nintendo and Game Freak for fulfilling the last, God, how long has it been since 1996?
Almost 30 years.
Almost
it's
30 years.
27.
Yeah, 27.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of my life with joy, and I appreciate it. And something that some of us have shared is favorite Pokemon, and I wanted to hear that. Maybe, Bob, you can throw yours in too. My favorite Pokemon is Shiny Mega Gardevoir because she wears a beautiful black gown.
There you go. That is the de facto real. Bob, do you have a favorite?
Mr. Mime.
Mr.
Oh,
Mime
God.
is your favorite. Yeah.
Just for sheer laughs and giggles and all that.
Terrifying.
Braden, what about you? I don't want you to share your socials because you're a youngin', but do you want to share? I think you have a different
so-
project.
My dog, you can find him on TikTok at Tomato the Pup. That's TOMATO, then the pup. And so I just make occasional videos on there about my dog. And so the way I really got into Pokemon is so my brother told me when I was probably about 4 or 5. He showed me the Digimon show, and then from that I branched out and found Pokemon. But I hadn't played many Pokemon games, and then So the games I've played are Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. I have played Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, Pokemon Moon, then Sword and Shield, and then just Violet. And then there's also some spin-offs like Pokemon Go and Pokken Tournament that I play a lot.
Did you get Arceus or no?
Oh, Arceus. I also played Legends Arceus and Brilliant Diamond.
Cool. Thank you. So you can find me at Eric Resniak on Twitter and Instagram, or you can just message the at Great Pop Culture Debate account on Instagram, or at GPCD on Mastodon. And if you want to add me on Pokemon Go, my friend code is 5870-3565-3266. I'm on there every day, although I'm terrible at sending gifts lately. I don't even know. That being said, how I got into it, I was playing the OG card game back in the 90s with Bob, and it was when I was applying for a job at Wizards spin-off magazine about cards. I don't even remember what it was called. Bombed that interview terribly, but that's how I first started playing it. And then I saw some of the movies and the shows with Bob and dipped in and out of the games themselves. I know I played Sun. Do I have Scarlet, Braden? Is that the one that I have?
You have Scarlet, yeah.
I have Scarlet, which I got this always happens with me at Pokemon games. I get 2/3 of the way in and then I get distracted and I never get back to it. So that's what I've done. But mostly, I'm on Pokemon Go literally every day. I play it constantly. It's embarrassing how much I play that. But, and that's why I'm salty about this Relicanth thing. I can't get over it. With that being said, let's move on to round 3 before Team Rocket tries to snatch our Pokemon. First up, it's currently a 3-1 victory as Eevee has the edge over Squirtle. Braden tackled this debate and Hydro Pump up Squirtle to withstand Eevee's challenge. Braden, talk to us about why Squirtle should advance here.
So first off, Squirtle does not learn Tackle. It's Pound.
Thank you. Drag me.
So, Squirtle is a turtle, and he's a turtle. Turtles are great. And so, people could argue that he is the best starter in Generation 1 because he can take on the Rock Gym very easily. Meanwhile, Eevee can't do that. Eevee, what are you going to do with Quick Attack? You're just going to, polish the Onix, and you resist... You resist the water type gym, and so that's just it's all around good. He learns Withdrawal, and I like to withdraw into my room a lot, so. And, that's probably about it.
Excellent arguments. Does anybody want to argue for Eevee here? My only argument for Eevee is it has become a secondary icon for the whole franchise, right? Yep. And you can't beat that evolutionary line. And if we're looking at Gen 1, it's only the 3, but it's still got 3 very cool evolutions. But in terms of characters to play, Braden's completely correct. Eevee is useless compared to Squirtle, who's actually great, and all of the evolutions are great. I play Wartortle is ridiculous. I don't understand the wings on the head. I'm baffled. But Blastoise kicks butt. Blastoise is a favorite of mine. Curtis, where are you on this?
This one's really a challenge because I like both of these Pokemon a lot. I started with Squirtle. That was OG, my starter. I love the whole line. And even though this is just Gen 1, I'm going to cheat and also say that one of my favorite Pokemon, top 3 probably is Espeon. I love a kitty and I love Psychic. It's my favorite type. But that's kind of unfair because it is just Eevee. But without Eevee, you don't get any of that. And it feels, this is not a pepperoni argument. It's like a Diana Ross argument that we were talking about. God.
If this is to sway your decision, Espeon got booted off of Red's team in Pokemon Gold and Silver, so he got swapped out for Lapras.
Oh. Although I do like Lapras. That's fine. Bob, what do you want?
Yeah, Bob, where are you on this one?
It's pretty simple for me. A battle argument can't really win this one over for me. It's going to be Eevee. Cute, adorable, loyal, all of those things. The evolutionary line to being so versatile and just being able to have so many different. I know it's only 3 evolutions in Generation 1, but let's face it, there's more beyond that, right? Making them so adaptable, all of those different things. So adaptability, right? I can't turn my back on Eevee. They have a parade float. Let's throw that in there again.
Parade float. They do have a parade float.
But Eric's right. It's the secondary icon of the series. They got we couldn't just have Let's Go Pikachu. We needed to have Let's Go Eevee as well. We couldn't just have one of those 2 games.
You have to catch them all, Curtis.
So, okay. Braden, am going ride or die with you and the Squirtle squad because I love those little the sunglasses that they put on the Squirtles in the anime. But it doesn't matter because Eevee is a 1 seed, and even in a tie, which I believe, unless Eric has been swayed by those sunglasses, it's gonna go to a tie here.
No, I haven't. But every time I see the Squirtle with sunglasses on, it reminds me of Joe Biden. Am I wrong? That's all I see. That's all I see.
Well, if he's building a team,
Bob?
I was just gonna say, from a cute scale, they both have it. Like, there's no fighting between these 2. These are both adorable Pokemon. So.
Yep. Yeah. I'm sticking with Eevee here. I think you've done a great job arguing for Squirtle, but in terms of like the ones that have had the most impact on the overarching like Pokemon as a franchise, I have to give it to Eevee here. Yeah. So that's 3 for Eevee, 1 for Squirtle. Sorry, Braden, you're striking out.
It was 2 for 2.
2 for 2. I'm sorry. Yes. So you did sway Curtis.
However,
we will still be advancing Eevee. Next, it's a battle of the cute Pokemon as Jigglypuff is up against Dragonite. Braden, launch a Hyper Beam to clear the way for Dragonite. I will pound the alarm to wake up the panel as to why Jigglypuff has the stuff for the semifinals. Braden, why don't you go? Talk to us a little bit more about Dragonite.
All right, so as I've spoken before, Dragonite is my 6th favorite Pokemon, and I'm honestly gabberflasted that Jigglypuff has made it this far. But so, first of all, I could punt Jigglypuff to Mars with relative ease.
Sure.
And any Pokemon that you can literally just punt to the moon is probably not a good choice to be one of the top Pokemon in all of Generation 1. Secondly, as I believe it was Curtis said, Dragonite is a pseudo-legendary, the first ever pseudo-legendary, and I can go into detail on that, which basically means, like, you have a 600 base stat total, you're part of a 3-stage evolutionary line, and you have the slow XP rate, and there might be some other factors, but that's about it. And then finally, you may say that Jigglypuff can beat Dragonite in the battle department because Jigglypuff's a fairy type, but in Generation 1, the fairy type didn't exist, so Dragonite does beat Jigglypuff in the battles as well.
So excellent arguments. Killing the game like your name's RuPaul. Bob, where are you on this one?
If you want to know my feelings on Dragonite, I will footnote this to my last round arguments. I'm just gonna for either of these, I don't have a lot of skin in the game on either of these Pokemon, other than the fact that I know everything that Braden said is true about Jigglypuff, but I can't not vote for Jigglypuff. Just if you know who I am as a person, I'm always going to vote for Jigglypuff. So it's Jiggly.
Curtis, where are you on this one?
Because people can't actually see it, in our recording software, we get to name ourselves when we enter the room. Bob's name is currently Jiggly, so there's not a lot that you
can. May I call you
Puff
Jiggly?
Miss Puff, if you're nasty.
Yes.
So
which I am. So yeah,
you're all nasty.
Yeah.
For me, this one's a challenge. I know that I repped Dragonite earlier, and I do like Dragonite as a Pokemon. However, if you look at Dratini and you look at Dragonair, they're both very serpent-like. They're bluish purple, and then you end up with this yellowish orange. What did you call him? Pete the Dragon? Is that the right
Pete's
one?
Dragon.
Pete's Dragon.
What's wrong with
which is
putting on
green.
a little extra weight?
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with being heavy.
Real dragons have curves, Curtis.
We support a big girl,
Yes.
but where did the legs and arms come from? That's my first question. But this is a challenge. I'm honestly leaning toward Jigglypuff just because of the reach, I guess, of having made it outside of this game. And I know, Braden, you said that it was just because they're lazy and they didn't want to make something different. Why is this such a hard one?
They always
I mean,
are.
it's really not. There's an obvious answer here.
That's fair. Okay, I'm going Dragonite.
I'm actually going to switch it to Dragonite too. Partially because I actually don't have any more arguments for Jigglypuff. I don't. There's nothing else to say. But also partially because I don't want Brayden to keep losing his Pokemon. So I'm gonna give it to Dragonite here.
I'm
So
gonna
good
curl
job.
up with my Dragonite pillow. Oh wait, I don't have one because he probably doesn't have one, but Jigglypuff does.
Dragonite does have a pillow, actually.
Okay.
Actually, I'm in my sister's room right now. There is a Jigglypuff pillow
I
behind me.
just saw it.
Yeah.
See it back there.
Yeah. Red. All right, we will be advancing Dragonite next in a battle for the ages. It's Mewtwo versus original recipe Mew with all those secret herbs and spices. Curtis, explain why Mew remains the most iconic of legendaries. Bob, argue for Mewtwo and why Mew's legendary is mostly leg and dairy. I'm going to have Curtis go first. Did you already talk about Mew in the previous round?
I did, but I can talk again, I suppose. If you think back to, I believe it is the very first movie that they did, where the big bad of the movie was Mewtwo. He hated people, check. He wanted to end all of civilization, really, check. But at the end toward the end of the movie, he turns everyone to stone, right? It's been a very long time, but that's what I remember, including Ash. He turns Ash, the main character of the movie, at least.
That's not what happens.
Is it
Ooh,
not?
tell
Please,
us.
So
tell me.
Mewtwo and Mew get into a big fight, and so they're like using their hyper beam psychic attacks on each other, and so they're like going towards each other, and then Ash runs in to try to stop him, and he's the only one that gets turned to stone, and then all the guys start crying, and it brings Ash back to life, and the dugongs are just like Dugong.
Thank you. Yes, there's
done.
that memory. Yes.
Well done.
Well, that took away my argument because I thought that Mew was the one that helped to bring Ash back, but Mew didn't care either. So I have no real defense here. Honestly, I think I would probably vote for Mewtwo out of the two.
All right. Bob, do you have an argument for Mewtwo? Or
Well, the Mew, it's the same. I think it's the same Mewtwo argument that we've really kind of already had, but it's really for me, it's the more iconic of these two pair-ups, the more recognized by the franchise as an iconic character design. All of those things are very, very recognizable and important to the franchise in general. The going back to Mewtwo time and time again in different media with regards to being the big bad in multiple the big focus in multiple movies. Do we have Mew outside in like Smash and stuff like that? That's something I truly don't know. But
As
it's like
a Pokeball that you
As a
can
Pokeball.
throw. But in the first
Yeah, but he's
iteration,
literally useless.
it doesn't
Yeah.
do anything. It just goes,
No, he
And then
still
flips.
doesn't do anything.
oh, still? Oh.
Yeah, he literally does nothing.
it's like a less exciting Goldeen, which is
It's like
a
I-
drag.
Fair.
yeah, it's like I kind of made that argument about the evolutionary line of Eevee being more of a argument for Eevee, but he's just a cooler evolution. The clone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Based off of a
Mewtwo
clone.
is the clone of Mew.
Yes,
Yes.
right. That's what I'm
Yes.
arguing for. Mewtwo, correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Mewtwo.
Brayden, where are you on this one?
I'm sticking with the cuter one. I'm going with Mew. I just think he's they are a cute little dude.
Cute little dude. All right.
Also, the mother of all Pokemon.
Is that true? Mew is the mother of all
Yeah,
Pokemon?
every single Pokemon has at least like a little bit of Mew's DNA in it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Arceus was the creator, but every Pokemon has Mew's DNA.
It's
Okay.
very complicated.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, Brayden. I'm with Mewtwo on this one because that is all true. But number one, not really a big fan of mothers right now. And secondly, sorry.
Oh my
Secondly,
God.
Mewtwo is everywhere. Like Mewtwo is like the antagonist that they keep coming back to, and for that reason, I think they're more interesting. Mew is maybe like the progenitor of everything, but it's just it's a little too much of the elusive chanteuse going on. So
I see you're into bad boys.
Amen to that, Braden. Amen to
do you
that.
know your uncle?
Exactly.
Woo, girl.
All right, lastly in the Elite Eight round, it looks like Pikachu is riding the Thunder Wave right into the quarterfinals over Cubone. But Curtis, why are you immune to Pikachu's charms?
I guess I'm a ground type.
Ah,
I really, it goes back to just feeling like I probably liked Pikachu early on, honestly. Like when I first started playing, started watching the animated series, started everything, Pikachu was probably fine. But because Nintendo loves to just drag along the same old thing every iteration, we've gotten Ash Ketchum, we've gotten Pikachu, and thankfully they've actually moved. They're moving away. They are moving in a different direction.
Completely getting rid of him.
Literally 30 years later. So even though I know that Cubone is not going to move forward here, this is literally a vote against Pikachu. I don't like pepperoni.
all right. So Braden, where are you on this one?
I just have to go with Cubone. I just think that Pikachu is overrated, honestly. And that's the whole reason I don't like Charizard as much either. Just they're overrated, overused.
Overdone. All right. Bob, where are you?
It's really interesting because throughout this conversation today, I've started to kind of shift my rubric or my thoughts in my head as to how I'm approaching these things. And I think that I might actually be leaning more towards Cubone at this point, because I think Pikachu is great. He's iconic. He's incredibly recognizable. He's cute. He's loyal. He's all of those things. He's been with us since the beginning. But that is because he's been forced on us and forced in front of us since the very beginning. And they never... If Cubone was forced as forward, maybe he could be as recognizable and loved by other people as well. Just because Pikachu is necessarily the one that's out there out front and being pushed by Nintendo doesn't necessarily make him better. I think that Cubone from a character design is more fun to look at. He has a more fun story associated with them. I just think that Cubone is a better character in this pair up. I think that I've kind of shifted my thought process a little bit away from the pepperoni argument of it all. It doesn't necessarily make, just because he's the one that's forced on us to be most popular because they put him in front of us all these years, doesn't make him the better Pokemon. And I actually think I'm voting for Cubone here.
Well, that is 3 votes for Cubone, so it doesn't matter. I'm going to remain on, as I used to torment poor Braden when we were in vacation mode many years ago, Team Pizza Chew. And Braden would be like, no, Uncle Eric, it's Pikachu.
I hated that so much.
And that's why I'm bringing it up.
So much.
Team Pizza Chew. I'm still voting for that, but it doesn't matter. Cubone's advancing to the final 4. So with that, we have our final 4. We're going to take a quick break to take our Pokemon to the Poke Center to heal them up before our final battles, and we will be right back after these messages. All right, we are back with the final 4 of our best generation Pokemon debate. At this point in the show, I always like to take a step back and see if the final 4 matches up with what I figured. And I can say with absolutely no question, no, it is not. It is fascinating. It's interesting. I think we have a variety of different reasons we got to the place where we are, but no. In fact, 2 out of 4 of these I would not have seen coming. In terms of seeds, Eevee was a 1 seed, correct?
Yes.
The
Mewtwo
ultimate, right?
was a 1 seed?
No.
2 seed?
2 seed.
Dragonite was a what?
4.
Ooh, and Cubone was a 3?
3. Yeah. So
we
it's
have
a 1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. That's kind of, we like
It's
that
new. That's
symmetry.
different for this
Dragonite being
podcast.
less than Cubone is an injustice.
Yes,
true.
I agree with that. That is fair. So let's go around the horn with our votes here. Eevee versus Dragonite. I'm going to start with Bob. Where are you on this one?
Eevee.
Not even any hesitation. Braden, where are you?
Dragonite, very, very easy. Dragonite.
And is it because you think Dragonite's a better fighter? Or is it...
No, I used him in my first ever Let's Go Eevee playthrough, and I was able to fly around on his back, which I really enjoyed.
Okay. Curtis, where are you?
Can't fly around on an Eevee. It's challenging because I really see both the positives of both and the negatives of both, arms and legs. And So the voice actor that they got for Eevee and the Let's Go Eevee games annoys the crap out of me.
Oh, what? She's
Whatever the
actually
hell.
like a famous voice actor.
Yeah, well, it doesn't do anything for me. Eevee.
He's still giving it to Eevee.
Yep.
Eevee is more iconic. There's no question about that. If we're talking about the grand scheme of Pokemon, which is the better fighter? I'm going to use my Pokemon Go here. I use Dragonite all the time. Excellent gym defender. Pretty solid in battles. Great defense. And doesn't do a ton of damage, but does enough, especially when I'm using my special attacks. So I can't tell you the last time I used an Eevee evolution in Pokemon Go. I don't. I've evolved them all, but I don't know last time I've used one. So I think I'm going to give it to Dragonite here, which is surprising to me. But here we are. Dragonite, is it a 4 seed?
4.
Yes.
Makes it to the final too.
All right,
No.
No.
Time out.
What are we gonna do here? Let's just do like rock paper scissors or something. How about that?
It's a tie, Eric.
Is it a tie?
Yeah.
Yes.
Me and
Oh.
How
Bob
about
were
we do, like-
Eevee. You and
How about we
Braden
do
were
rock paper
Dragonite.
scissors?
Well, no, the way it works in a tie, Braden, on this podcast is it goes by seeds. And Eevee is a 1 seed, Dragonite is a 4 seed. So Eevee would advance with the tie.
Eevee was the most voted for Pokemon on this bracket.
Are
Yeah.
you
We
sure?
already got rid of Pikachu when we
yeah.
talk about iconic.
That's
And
true.
we can't deny the vote. We can't ignore the voters completely in this when it came to the folks who took this poll. I think Dragonite's had his fun. And
Yes.
I'm not trying not to disrespect because I understand and I appreciate everybody sharing with me why Dragonite's amazing because I completely understand from your perspectives why they are at this point. But this is, to me, it's Eevee. I don't know why we would consider the other option. I know, Braden.
I see why we would.
I know you said try not to disrespect, but aren't you the one who said that Dragonite was an off-brand Charmander?
That's what I'm saying. Is
Yes,
I'm trying not to
Braden.
disrespect them at this point. Is
Good.
what I'm saying. You've helped me come around to understand why Dragonite is not.
And yet you're still not voting for them.
But I'm not going to vote for them at this stage of the game. But I think you probably would have at this point persuaded me earlier rounds to absolutely vote for them.
All right.
So-
That's fair. So thank you for pointing out I was incorrect. It is a tie. Is a tie seed works. So it's Eevee advancing to the final 2, which I do think in the grand scheme of things probably makes more sense. Now we're going to go to Mewtwo versus Cubone. I'm going to start with Curtis.
Mewtwo.
Where are you? Mewtwo? Braden, where are you?
Cubone.
All right.
I'm a big fan of underdogs.
And that's good. That's
Like
good.
Mewtwo.
Rep those underdogs. And Bob.
Mewtwo.
I'm also going to vote for Mewtwo on this one, which gives us a final 2 of Eevee versus Mewtwo, which I actually think is a pretty good final 2. I'm not
agree.
mad about it at all, and I think most people probably would have expected Pikachu here, but we had very good reasons for why we eliminated Pikachu, I think. We're going to start with Curtis. Mewtwo versus Eevee, who wins?
Okay, well, this is hard because the reason that I voted for Eevee in the last round and the reason that I've probably voted for Eevee ever since then, it's not just Espeon. It's the fact that you get one Pokemon and you could have 3. You get to pick. I love that you get to choose your adventure. You get to fill a need on your team. If you need a water type, if you need a fire type, if you need an electric type, you get to choose. And I think that's a really cool and interesting approach to a Pokemon, which is why I desperately need them to make more. You have all these other types that are not currently represented, but without Eevee, you don't get any of them. And I think that's really cool. But Mewtwo, I talked earlier about how upset that I was that I couldn't get Mew because I love psychic types. I love cats. Mewtwo I could get. I would just have to walk right in that cave and throw a Master Ball at it because I was not trying to catch it in anything else. And then I had it. The one drawback is you've done the game. You're finished by that point. You've beaten all the gyms. You've beaten the Elite Four. You've done everything that you possibly can. And now you can suddenly catch this Pokemon. And I think I just talked myself into voting for Eevee.
Okay. Bob, where are you on this one?
I am still with Eevee. I think Curtis made an incredibly important argument towards Eevee, that there's a lot more dimension and something that's a little bit more interesting when it comes to Eevee, because you have all of those evolutions. You can get what you need. I really think Mewtwo is great, and we've argued up until this point with Mewtwo being really that go-to antagonist of the franchise when it comes to the movies and all of that sort of stuff. But when it comes to Eevee, I think there's a lot more versatility. They're verse. There's a lot more versatility. It's more interesting. It makes your game more fun, more interesting from that perspective of being able to have something different. It just makes them overall more layered and complex to deal with. On top of that, being incredibly cute, adorable, lovable, huggable, all of those things from a design perspective, they're both great. But the one that you want to have in your pocket that's going to keep you warm at night is going to be Eevee.
You think that Mewtwo is huggable?
And all of its tubes that go from its head to its back.
No, I think Eevee is huggable.
Yeah,
I don't think that Mewtwo is huggable. Okay.
I'm just kidding. So, Braden, we have no underdogs here. So, where are you voting?
So, you may think I'm a very experienced Pokemon player. You may think I would go at this from a battle perspective, but I would like to just say the first Pokemon game I ever completed was Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. I created a very strong connection with Eevee, and it has the move in Let's Go Eevee. You can learn a specific tutor move. It's called Batty Bad, and I just think that is the most amazing Pokemon name ever. And my dad may say I am either soft or sad for this, or being embarrassing, but I'm going with Eevee.
As your uncle, I don't think you were either of those things. I think those are very good reasons, and I celebrate them. So thank you. I'm also going to give it to Eevee. We're going to give it a clean sweep here. Mewtwo's a great antagonist, but I can't think of a single reason. Like, why would you put the bad guy as like the ultimate number one pick? It doesn't make any sense. And Eevee is, I think there's a reason that Eevee has increasingly become a face of the franchise, which is the adaptability. And like, I think Curtis made a great point. Like, you can choose which path you want to go with Eevee, and that is really part of the DNA of these games, right? It is like you choose the what you need for your game. Nobody has the same two Pokemon teams. Nobody does things does the same order, at least in the games where you can control that. I give that to Eevee. I think it's more in line with what Pokemon is than Mewtwo, which is kind of more anime and dark and weird and antagonistic, and that's not Pokemon to me. That like Eevee has the spirit of the franchise. So there you have it, folks. Our pick for the best Gen 1 Pokemon is Eevee. Do you agree? Do you think we jinxed ourselves? Tell us how you really feel by leaving a comment on this episode at greatpopculturedebate.com or find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or Mastodon. While you're there, make sure that you subscribe and follow the podcast so you can hear about what new debates are coming soon, vote in open polls, and even decide which topics we tackle next. If you really enjoyed this episode, please take a minute to like and rate the episode of the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or whatever platform you listen on. I want to say thank you to my panel. You are my elite trainers, and thank you for listening. If you loved what you heard, please consider supporting us on Patreon, where you can get even more exclusive content and you get episodes a whole day early. We hope you have a good one, and remember, everyone is entitled to their wrong opinion, but choke me, Daddy!